Let's talk about a moment in history when an entire subcontinent, hundreds of millions of people, were mobilized by one single powerful idea, an idea that would challenge a global empire, not with armies or weapons, but by simply collectively saying no. This is the incredible story of the non-cooperation movement.
And this right here, this one sentence from Mahatma Gandhi was the big idea behind everything. He wasn't inventing something new. He was framing resistance as an ancient moral duty. It wasn't rebellion. It was simply reclaiming a right that people have always had, the right to refuse to help a ruler who was ruling badly. And that idea, well, that gave the movement its rock-solid foundation.
But, a nationwide refusal like this doesn't just happen overnight. By 1920, India was basically a tinderbox of grievances. Years of anger, years of broken promises. All it needed was a spark. So what exactly pushed an entire nation to its breaking point?
What's really striking is just how fast everything escalated. I mean, look at this timeline. It was just one thing after another, bam, bam, bam. You've got these awful repressive laws, and then the horrific massacre in 1919. Just months later, a betrayal over the Turkish Caliphate that infuriates Indian Muslims. And by June, the call to action is already formal. It was just this relentless series of blows that made cooperating with the government feel, well, impossible.
So yeah, it was pretty much the perfect storm. You had pure political outrage over things like the Rollout Act in Jallianwala Bagh, and what made that even worse was when people back in Britain started raising money to defend General Dyer. Then you had this deep religious anger from the Khilafat issue. And on top of all of that, ordinary people were really suffering economically. To just sit back and take it all, it started to feel dishonorable, even cowardly.
Okay, so the country is at a boiling point. What's the plan? This is where Gandhi steps in with a totally radical, nationwide program. The idea wasn't to fight for power, but to simply withdraw consent. A whole new strategy for freedom.
And the goal was crystal clear: Swaraj, self-rule. But this wasn't some fuzzy, far-off dream. Gandhi made this electrifying, almost unbelievable promise. He said, "We can achieve Swaraj in 1 year." Can you imagine hearing that? This bold, audacious claim gave millions of people a real, tangible goal to fight for right now.
And here was the plan itself, broken down into clear steps. It was basically a multi-front attack on the very pillars of British rule. First, a symbolic rejection, give back all your titles. Then, a massive boycott of the institutions that made the British system run, the schools, the courts, the councils. You couple that with an economic attack, boycotting foreign goods, and you build it all on a social foundation of unity and absolute, strict nonviolence.
But here's the thing. To lead a mass movement, you need a mass organization. The old Indian National Congress, it was basically an elite club for the wealthy. So Gandhi completely overhauled it. You can see the goal changed, they created a permanent committee to keep the pressure on year-round, and, this is critical, they slashed the membership fee to just 4 annas. That opened the doors to absolutely everyone and turned Congress into a real grassroots machine.
So the plan is in place, the party's been rebuilt from the ground up, and the stage is set. When the movement finally launched, the response from the Indian people was, well, it was nothing short of a national awakening.
The youth of the nation responded with just incredible force. Think about this number for a second. 90,000 students. They walked out of government-run schools and colleges, but they didn't just go home. They flooded into this new parallel system of over 800 national schools. They were literally voting with their feet, and it was a massive blow to the legitimacy of British education in India.
And the boycott of the law courts was just as dramatic. I mean, you have the most successful lawyers in the entire country. People like Motilal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel. These guys are at the top of their game, making huge amounts of money. And they just quit. They gave it all up. That act of sacrifice sent such a powerful message across the whole country. Nothing was more important than freedom.
And if you want to see the real-world economic impact, just look at this chart. The value of imported foreign cloth absolutely plummeted. It went from 102 crore rupees down to just 57 crore in a single year. That's a drop of nearly 50%. This was a direct, crippling hit to British industry, especially those big textile mills back in Manchester.
The boycott of foreign cloth also gave the movement one of its most powerful and iconic images. All across the country, people would pile up their foreign-made clothes and just set them on fire in these huge public bonfires.
It was a spectacular, defiant symbol that everyone could see, a symbol of self-reliance and rejecting economic control.
And nothing, I mean nothing, captures the shift in loyalty better than this right here. When the Prince of Wales, the heir to the British throne, visited India, he was met with empty streets and nationwide strikes. The message couldn't have been clearer. But in stark contrast, wherever Gandhi went, he was mobbed by enormous, passionate crowds. It showed you exactly where the heart of the nation truly was.
So what this massive public response showed was that the movement wasn't just some top-down order. It had become a wildfire of defiance, and that spirit, once it was let loose, started sparking all kinds of other local struggles and movements across the country that took on a life of their own.
And you can really get a sense of that ripple effect here. In Punjab, you have the Akali movement to reform Sikh temples gaining huge momentum. In UP, peasants fighting against landlords merged their cause with a national one. Tea plantation workers in Assam went on strike. From fighting forest laws in Andhra to no tax campaigns in Bengal, people were taking the spirit of non-cooperation and applying it to their own local fights for justice.
The confidence of the movement just soared. At one point, 47 of the top Congress leaders, Gandhi included, issued a manifesto. In it, they declared that it was religiously unlawful for Muslims to serve in the British Army. Now, this was a direct call for mutiny. It was sedition. But the government, facing all this unrest, was basically forced to just ignore it. They couldn't do anything about it, which was a huge blow to their authority.
Now, the non-cooperation movement didn't achieve Swaraj in a year, and it was eventually called off after an outbreak of violence, but its impact was absolutely undeniable. It changed the Congress Party forever, it politically awakened millions of Indians who had never been involved before, and it proved that the foundations of British rule could be shaken to their very core without firing a single shot. It left behind this powerful legacy and a really important question for us to think about. In a long struggle for freedom, how do you really measure success?